Hey, welcome everybody.
Hello.
1019 The Watch Commander. Man, have we had technical difficulties tonight? We, uh, hopefully everybody can hear us.
Hey, you don't have
Mike's
you
com
don't you don't have to say we. It was me. I had everything going, and my computer all of a sudden flashed. We're gonna shut down. You need to get off. And I was like, I told it no, but it did it anyway. And then it went through this 10-minute full BIOS reboot for whatever reason.
That was so funny, man. Mike, because my sound was super loud, and then Nicole came in and she goes, "Yeah, your sound is super loud. You sound like an old, like well, I've thought like a 1930s radio or something like that." And I'm like,
Oh,
So I restarted my mixer, and stuff happens when you're going live. But we want to welcome Nicole Lopes to the show. Nicole, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And we have this is pretty cool. Let me throw some names up here. Tracy, I think it's Tracy Tribune, but I don't know. I never get. So she said hello, and Dave Dave Elsas is here. Mike, you have any more bears in your yard?
not that I'm
And
aware of.
Passe
I
says,
put out a video with two baby cubs rolling around in our front yard up at the lake. That
yeah,
was pretty awesome.
I, I saw that.
Did you? Okay.
Um, And JG's here, man. GJ. Mike, look who's here. Mark Slater is here.
Mark, hey brother, long time no see. I must owe
And
him money.
let's see here. Oh my goodness, look at Sonia's
Sonia.
here. Sonia, I want you
Wow.
to notice you've changed me and Mike. Before Nicole, you've been on the show with us, and Mike would come in with just we'd come in t-shirts and hats, and Sonia came in and she was our guest, and she was all classy and she was all dressed up, and her background was like, and we afterwards me and Mike go, boy, we're slobs. We're
Oh
so
man, I had that bacon collar going on my T-shirt and everything, and
oh,
yeah,
that was
it was
funny.
bad.
But we are here tonight. We're on a little limited schedule. Nicole's got an hour, so we're gonna get as much information from her as we can. But before we get started, um, I want to start out with this. What is this about,
I
Nicole?
just got married over the weekend, and so this is from my wedding. This is my beautiful family, my beautiful new husband, and our three sons.
Isn't that exciting? And you
Cool.
were when I put the advertisement up for this or put it on YouTube, it was Nicole Castronovo, and then she said, "You got to change the name now. It's Lopez." So congratulations to you and your whole family.
Thank you.
But one of the reasons Mike and Nicole and myself were on a YouTube a live. Let's say a few months ago, we were talking about LEPD and LASD hiring undocumented DACA recipients who were hired to be police officers for LAPD and for for LASD. And so we've met. The three of us have met in studio before, so that was a lot of fun. And go watch that video if you haven't watched it yet. But I do want to let me get the chat out of the way real quick here, and I want to talk about Nicole and the work that you do. Let's see here. So you're an attorney, and not only are you an attorney, I'm kind of wondering how you got into. You're a defense attorney, but you're a defense attorney for first responders, and so you've handled some cases where they're going after the cops. So how did you get into all that?
Yes, so I kind of just got into this by happenstance. When I before I went to law school, I worked as a paralegal for 6 years in a criminal defense firm. So I had a criminal defense background. And then in law school, I clerked at OCDA and I got more familiar with law enforcement through that process. I clerked in gangs and homicide for about a year and a half. And I really enjoyed that work. And then after I took the bar, I moved to San Francisco. And I was looking for a job after I took the bar exam. And I had a friend who was a POA president of his department. And he had just worked with a police firm in doing their negotiation for their contract. And he said, I think you'd really like this work. And he passed along their information to me and I applied. And so that's just how I got into it. And I've been doing it since I was admitted. I've stayed doing the police work. So I represent both police and fire in administrative cases. So your internal affairs investigation, all the way through civil service or arbitration. And I also represent first responders criminally. And so I've represented officers in use of force cases, in manslaughter cases. I represented the first officer charged in 20 years in LA County for an on-duty shooting. It was an LASD deputy in 2021, and we got him a full acquittal in less than 6 hours from a downtown LA jury. So I've worked in the range of with police officers of everything from NIA to a criminal case to rolling out 2 shootings. I respond to those as well. And so I have gotten kind of a well-rounded view of law enforcement from that.
And what are you able to talk about that deputy sheriff case?
Yes, I am. So that was a case that involved the LASD deputy in Cerritos, I believe. And it's been a while. But in essence, the DA's theory of the case was the deputy responded, or I'm sorry, he saw a stolen vehicle and the plate came back stolen. He's calling it in and he approaches the vehicle at a gas station as he's basically radioing in to the dispatcher the plate. And it's all caught on video at a 7-Eleven gas station. And the person took off and hit the deputy, and the deputy fired as he was being struck. And the suspect was killed. And this happened in a very busy parking lot during the day. There's a community college across the street. So there was an enormous amount of foot traffic that came through there, witnesses, bystanders that came through the crime scene. And the DA's office charged this deputy with voluntary manslaughter because their theory of the case was that he ran after the car and was firing when the suspect was driving away from him. Now, there were no bullet holes in the back windshield of the car. There was nothing to suggest that. And the whole incident was captured on 2 cameras at the 7-Eleven gas station. And once I got the discovery from LADA, I realized why they had this theory of the case. They took the 2 videos and they spliced them together as one action. And then they magnified them incredibly. So they were very pixelated. And when I watched this video, I realized that it looks as if the deputy is running after the car and firing. Now, when you look at the decompressed video side by side with the 2 shots, what you see is that the deputy is not running after the car. His hands are actually by his side. What had looked like him chasing after the vehicle was actually an optical illusion caused by the magnification of this video. And the car the suspect was driving was a hatchback Integra, an older model. And so the triangular window in the back of the car looked like an arm holding a gun, canted. But when you looked at the actual video, decompressed, not magnified, not spliced together, you could see that the deputy had already fired after the car pulled away. So he was firing within policy and within the law. And the DA's office hung their hat on that video, and they kind of paid for that during the jury trial, because once we showed the real video, the jury immediately was, arms crossed. They didn't believe what the DA's office was presenting at that point. And so at the end of the trial, they only asked one question, which was to see the videos again. And then they acquitted the deputy in less than 6 hours.
Cool. I do remember that case. Hey, Nicole, are you associated with a larger firm of people who represent?
Yes, I currently
Who are you with?
I work at Seki Nishimura in Watase, and we're based in downtown LA. I work with the great Bill Seki, who's lives in LAPD lore. So we represent first responders. We also represent, and now since I've been at this firm, I've also branched into this area of practice, which is I defend LASD deputies in civil rights cases. And so that's something else that I work on now too, is defending the civil portions of the use of force.
Was this a case where you had to be rushed out of the courtroom?
We did have to be rushed out of the courtroom at the conclusion of the acquittal because oh my gosh, you got to help me with the name. It was a Kyle Rittenhouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
His verdict had come down that morning of a not guilty, and then we had a not guilty, and there was a tremendous amount of upset in the courtroom, people yelling, and they had to fill the courtroom with deputies, and they actually whisked us out to the freight elevator because of security issues that were going on.
I did see a video where before a verdict came down, you had to be rushed to the hospital.
Oh yes. So I was in a trial in Long Beach. It was a trial for a CHP officer who was charged with vehicular manslaughter. That case was, I had a CHP officer who was a motorcycle cop. And CHP, they take their bikes home. And so he was riding on his bike at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work. And a man stepped in front of his motorcycle and was killed. He stepped into the street. And they charged him. Long Beach City attorney charged him with misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter. LADA actually declined that case. And so that trial took place in Long Beach when I was pregnant with my third son. And I didn't make it to the verdict in that case because I went into labor with my son, and he ended up being born in Long Beach. So that was quite a dramatic entry into the world. But I didn't make it through the end of that trial.
So this one with the LASD deputy, that was a Gascon filing.
It was actually Jackie Lacey filed it.
Oh, so it was a while back.
It was filed. It was a shooting that happened in 2016, and then the trial didn't occur until 2021, in part because of COVID delayed the trial. We were supposed to start, and then COVID happened. And it was a really long process for this deputy to have that hanging over his head for 5 years about whether or not he's going to go to state prison or not. But it was Jackie Lacey filing. I think that it was motivated in part by some of the racial issues at play. That it didn't have the traditional components that are seen. Both parties in the shooting were minorities. And so I think it was honestly treated like a safe filing politically. And so, the city, it's not, you guys have heard about it because you work in this industry. But, it is notable for a cop to be charged for the first time in 20 years and to get an acquittal. And it wasn't bigger news than it was newsworthy because it didn't have some of those traditionally kind of polarizing issues to it.
I'm assuming over the last 5 or 6 years or so, you've seen your caseloads probably expand a great deal based on all of this. Let's sue the cops, let's fire the cops, let's convict the cops. Is that accurate?
Yes, I have
Yeah.
seen over the last 8 years, I've seen a significant uptick in criminal filings against police officers. Um, there's some changes in the law that are coming to civil trials soon with jury selection that are going to impact the way civil rights trials are conducted. That makes it much easier for a plaintiff to get a verdict. And so definitely the current political climate influences what happens with law enforcement. It just does. You know, people act accordingly. We've seen Gascon before the election kind of ramping up filing against people. And so, you know, it's a sad state of affairs, but it is, the spigot's not turning off on these cop cases. It's just not. I mean, it's a really difficult time to be in law enforcement.
What would you tell somebody going into law enforcement today?
Don't. No, I'm just kidding. No, I say
You heard
that
it here,
because
folks.
my oldest son wants to be a police officer. He tells me that every day he wants to be a police officer. And, you know, I get it. It is a calling for people. I would say one of the better things, it's going to be controversial, but one of the better things that's happened with law enforcement in the last 10 years is body-worn cameras, to be honest.
Yep.
It really is a huge thing in dispoing administrative cases. I've seen so many cases that are just demonstrably false based on the evidence, because now when a citizen complains about you and says you called them a name or you were racist or you did an illegal search, there's video evidence of that. So a third party can look at it and see what's going on. I had a case where I had some cops that were accused of an illegal entry through a door. And their body-worn camera quite literally saved their hide because it showed that their entry into the building was not illegal. So, but of course their department had rushed to try to discipline them before ever watching the video. So, you know, I also think that anyone who's going into law enforcement now, they really have to embrace the times that we live in. This isn't the old school anymore. We're in a different era. You have to conduct yourself as such. You know, you can't be sending stupid text messages to people or posting politically charged things on social media that might not be appropriate. You have to realize that, you know, you are under a different microscope now. And you're not necessarily just given, like when I was a kid, we were told to respect cops and be polite to them and things like that. And that's not the attitude anymore. And so because of that, you know, anyone who's going into law enforcement or who is working in law enforcement now has to kind of grow and evolve with the times.
Yeah, you know, I worked some pretty tough assignments back in the day, really hard charging stations, but I also spent about 5.5 years at IAB. Sorry, folks. And that gave me that gave me the insight when I heard body cams were coming out. People were all pissed off, and I'm not going to wear one. I'm like, dude, those things will save your butt. And I know a lot of people still in the department, and they have changed their attitudes. They're really glad the cameras are there now. Yeah, but I don't know what I'd tell somebody coming on
They're a
today.
mixed bag. I mean, sometimes they can be deceptive, right? I've seen in cases where the body worn, because it's worn at chest level, it doesn't capture what the officer or deputy sees at their eye level. And so sometimes that doesn't match with a report because the officer saw something a foot higher than what the camera is seeing. Or I just had a case where it was very dark out and an officer could see something, but the camera didn't catch it because it was so dark. And so they were disputing whether or not he actually saw it. So, you know, it can be a great protector of officers, but then sometimes it's overly relied upon or can be misleading. So it is kind of a mixed bag. I get both sides of the argument, but I do think that on balance, it's better for law enforcement to have the cameras than to not.
I think eventually it's going to morph into what we all see in sci-fi movies now. That camera's right here, right? In all the
Yes.
sci-fi movies, it's right there when they see the alien. So hopefully they'll come up with a new model like that gives that closer to eye level perspective. Hey, did the deputy, I forget, the deputy in that shooting case, did he keep his job?
Yes, he did.
Cool. That's a
Yes,
lot
he
of
did.
back pay.
Yeah, he kept
Good.
his job.
Ken, I see you zoning
My
out. What's going on?
my internet keeps going in and out. So we're getting into rainy season. So if I look frozen, because I'm frozen,
No,
that's pretty
you
much
haven't
it.
frozen at all. Mm-mm.
Oh, well,
You're doing
I don't
good.
believe you.
Okay. Maybe I was
I was
frozen. I
gonna
don't know.
really. I haven't. Because yeah, because I've had to reconnect twice. So if I do, don't worry about it. I'll let these two guys continue the conversation without me.
Cool.
I was going to ask you, Nicole, do you um as far as Gascon goes, I everything I've read in the news leads me to believe that he targets cops. His thing is he likes to prosecute cops. Is that true? Do you feel?
Oh yeah, I do feel that way. I've seen it with my own eyes over the years that he's been in office. Um, he seems to relish and celebrate charging cops in cases, um, which is odd considering that he was longtime LAPD. He was a chief of police, and he's tried to almost reinvent himself as something else. Um, but I've seen not only the uptick in filings, but every time a cop is filed on, it's a splashy press release. There is a press conference. And I see them sometimes report things as far as the statements that LADA puts out as more favorable than what it really is. So, for example, I had a voluntary manslaughter case involving another LA County Sheriff's deputy, a different case. And in that case, for strategic reasons, I waived the preliminary hearing. And the headline that ran from LADA was defendant was held to answer, what a great victory. Well, he was held to answer because for strategic reasons, we waived the prelim. It was a given. It wasn't a victory, right? And so, in the same case, the voluntary manslaughter charges were actually dismissed, and the deputy pled to an assault charge and received a sentence of 30 days in jail. And the DA's office celebrated that as a big victory. But the major charge was dismissed because the case, by their own admission, was not provable. So I see that they stand on the shoulders of law enforcement and pretend to be tall regularly. And that's something that Gascon's running on right now, is talking about all the things he's done against law enforcement. I've seen him with active cases I have giving interviews to internet outlets to talk about specific cases involving the police. And I think that his edicts too, that he came into office with, his I won't charge certain enhancements anymore. I think that all kind of panders to anti-law enforcement perspective. And then he turned around and he hired a lot of public defenders. He got rid of a lot of the top DAs when he came in. He hired public defenders, some who post pictures of themselves in
Hmm.
anti-police attire. And in fact, there is a DA right now that was a public defender that I had on a case, and I looked up election records and found that he had donated $1,500 to Gascon's campaign and then was hired by LADA.
Hmm.
Well, you
No.
know what? He's on borrowed time as far as I'm concerned. I think he's playing to a limited audience. I think his fire has gone out, and I hope that November 5th that he can pack his bags and go home. That's what it looks like is going to happen. I hope that's true.
he is
And what?
down in the polls considerably, and I
Yeah.
agree with you, Mike. I think the other part of it is, and I don't know, Mike, do you still live in Southern California? But
Yeah.
I think there's a collective feeling of those of us who still live in the city of LA and the county of LA that we're tired of the crime. Like, I won't even take my kids to the shopping mall anymore because I'm worried about flash mobs, and there's always LAPD circling the mall when I go there. Or, the property theft crimes, just the overall feeling. And I'm a lifelong Angelino, that is just more dangerous than it's ever felt to me.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like a scene from The Walking Dead. Everywhere you go down there, there's these zombified drug addicts, or mentally ill, or alcoholics, or you name it. And I mean, it's a climate of thuggery right now. Everywhere you go, what's the Dodger pitcher that just was out with his wife at the racetrack, and a mob
Walker
of people.
Bueller.
Walker Bueller walking along with like a knucklehead with his expensive watch on. They stripped it right off his arm. This gang of people, and it's just like these gangs of kids, on bikes. Who would have ever thought of that? Bunch of 14-year-old kids on
Hmm.
on uh,
On
on
pocket
their
bikes.
on their Schwinn, Stingrays, and going in and gutting stores. Who would have ever thought of that?
Yeah.
It's a reality now.
And there, a few days ago, there was an article about, there was a video, two videos of these feral youths that are, raging in the city, and they're just attacking 7-Elevens, and it's
Yes, I saw that.
brutal. And then 2 days after the last video that came out, 7-Eleven announced they're closing 400 stores in North America, and they said because of, you know, sales, they're not making the money. But I'm like, that's coincidental. 2 days after this thing happens, 400 stores is no joke for 7-Eleven, man.
Well, they're in there stripping the walls. Everything they steal, is a loss of bottom line. So I don't blame them.
Yeah. And Nicole, what's up with this panel that Gascon put together, has a BLM member, and they're going to dredge up old adjudicated police shootings and stuff like that. What happened? Why did he do that?
Politics. He hired a special prosecutor that's paid an exorbitant amount of money to review these cases. A lot of the cases that he was looking into, that he said when he was elected, he was looking into charging. He let the statute of limitations lapse on those cases for voluntary manslaughter for these shootings, and really all that's left at that stage, once you've blown the statute of limitations, is a murder charge, which he's not going to get. He's charged one of the shootings that was reviewed, which is the Torrance PD shooting. And that was a shooting that was actually cleared by LADA. They sent a clearance letter, and then they, under Gascon, decided that this was a criminal shooting, and that case is going on right now through the courts. But he hasn't kind of lived up to his promises by letting a lot of these cases lapse. There's been a lot of pushback about how much the special prosecutor's been paid to basically have one case filed for the years that he's been there. So, a lot of that was talk, to be honest, because he blew it on a bunch of these cases.
Well, in the interest of time, I don't know. I want to show a video because we'll kind of segue into this part, but I want to show a video talking about crime. To see what does Elliot have to say? The people have realized how short-handed law enforcement is, why you see the gang mob mentality flourishing with the street takeovers, flash robberies, and general lawlessness. True that. This apparently Fox News decided to call you and ask you about this young lady right here. So let's take a quick listen to this.
Sold, Carly. Now that Vice President Kamala Harris is on the verge of becoming the Democratic nominee, many are looking back at her record in California as an early indication of what a Harris presidency could look like. Here's former President Trump on a press call last night.
She's destroyed San Francisco, which is a hell of a thing to do. If she becomes president, Kamala Harris will make the invasion exponentially worse. And just like she did with San Francisco, just like she did with the border, our whole country will be permanently destroyed.
Nicole Castronovo is a Los Angeles-based criminal defense lawyer, and she joins me now. Nicole, Kamala Harris bills herself as tough on crime, but her record doesn't necessarily reflect that. What red flags stand out to you from Kamala Harris's record?
Some of the things that stand out to me from Kamala Harris's record, especially are Prop 47 in California, which sought to make misdemeanors into a number of felony crimes that existed in California. And in essence, it let out criminals from the jails. And it's caused a lot of problems here in California. Theft is up, all sorts of property crimes are up. And she was a big supporter of that. Additionally, Harris has made stances that are confusing. Sometimes she takes a stance that she's against the death penalty, and sometimes as Attorney General, she was then defending the death penalty. So I think the red flags here are making political statements and not necessarily following them out with her office.
Let's look at some of her record. Let's start as senator. Keep in mind, she supported the Minnesota Freedom Fund. That was a fund that raised $41 million and literally put criminals back out on the streets. Of course, she also did the Green New Deal, but that's really more along the lines of climate and border. I'm focused on the criminal stuff. And you have to keep in mind that her record really caused a lot of problems. So my question for you is, that sense, that far left streak that she has, basically far to the left of Bernie Sanders in many ways, was that also reflected in her time as AG and going even deeper to her time as DA in San Francisco?
I think for her time as AG, definitely Harris has marketed herself as a progressive prosecutor. I think as a DA, not so much. A lot of people found her to be moderate as a DA. And that's some of the arguments now against her. As a DA, she did prosecute, I believe it was something along the lines of 1,900 people for marijuana crimes. But yet that's something she's against now. So I think her stance changes depending on where the wind blows.
And, what's interesting about that, you brought up the thing about the marijuana prosecutions. And then last night she came out, her campaign came out, and she had all these things she's trying to get the black men vote. And at the bottom, she says that she's going to, she wants to decriminalize marijuana. She's targeting black men to get their vote. She's going to decriminalize marijuana so they can open more dispensaries. And I thought that was the most offensive thing I had ever read a presidential candidate to do. But now that she's running for president, have you did this interview a few months ago, I'm guessing. And so how do you think a Harris presidency would affect law enforcement across the nation?
Ooh, I don't think it's going to be good for law enforcement. I think we'll see some of the things that we saw with the Obama administration, with a Kamala administration. I don't think we're going to have the support of law enforcement that was seen in the last administration at all. I find her stance confusing because she did spend her lifetime as a prosecutor, and as a DA in San Francisco, Alameda County, as the AG of California. So quite literally as like the top cop of the state. And yet I see her kind of parroting a lot of this anti-law enforcement rhetoric. So I don't think that she's good for law enforcement. I don't think people should be expecting great funding from her for law enforcement or support, because that's not trendy right now. It's not popular within her party. And I think that, just like a Gascon, she's a career politician. And so she's going to do what she thinks is popular and gets her votes. And right now, law enforcement is a hot button issue. So I don't expect much support or backing from Harris.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
I think she is 100% right. I just, her entire campaign these days seems to be built on the belief that they're going to lose, and it's desperate times, and they're firing off in any direction they can to try to pull in what I consider to be some fringe votes, and that's not going to do it for her. I look at the polls every day, that Real Clear Politics, and they smash all the polls together. And nationally, she was up at one point by like 2.8, and this morning it's down to 1.3. I think she's bleeding voters, she's bleeding support, and there's a good reason for that. I think people are seeing through the muckety-muck of what they're trying to do, and that circus clown she's got as a vice presidential candidate isn't really doing her any favors.
No.
I like that ad they did where he was trying to show he was out there with his shotgun, and and he couldn't get it loaded or unloaded. There was a round stuck in it, and it's like, that's okay. There you go, buddy. But I just, every day I get up and I pray, man. It's like we cannot take 4 more years, basically, of Joe Biden. And I've also noticed that if you watch her real closely, she is starting to take on mannerisms of Obama. The speech inflections and some of the movements that she makes, you watch her. I'm sure he's coaching her pretty good, but, unfortunately for her, she is not Obama. So, that's my take on it.
I did think it was interesting. Speaking of Waltz, I don't know if you saw the interview that Harris gave where she said if someone comes into her house, she's going to shoot them because she's a gun owner.
On Oprah.
On Oprah. Yes, it was on Oprah. And so there's this pandering on both sides. And it does seem disjointed, and it does seem kind of desperate.
Yeah, I think at one point she even said they were going to come for people's guns, and now she's talking about how she's a pistol packing mama at home, and Mr. Walz is out there swinging that thing around like he knows what he's doing. But it's better than those car commercials he was doing. Let me show you how to change a spark plug. Like, get out of it.
I think that vice presidents should just stay away from shotguns since Dick Cheney, but that's my own.
Right?
Didn't he shoot somebody or something?
In the face.
Yeah. Got him pretty good. He said the guy looked like a turkey. I don't know.
Well,
I think it was a judge too, as I recall. It was someone of some official capacity that he shot in the face with birdshot. I don't know. I guess they don't understand crossfire issues, but
yeah, I guess he was lucky with birdshot. But hey, what do you think about Gascon picking up the Menendez brother case? To me, that's absolute freaking insanity. Go ahead. I'm going to get your opinion on it before I flap my lip.
I'm going to get my opinion on it. Well, it was funny because I was watching Netflix at home the day before, he made this statement. And I noticed on Netflix, the #1 trending show was this show about the Menendez brothers, this fictionalized show. And then sure enough, like the next day he comes out and says, we're going to revisit the Menendez brothers sentencing. Mm-hmm. And, Kim Kardashian's coming out and talking about how they should have had different considerations and all of that. And I do agree with certain portions of that. I do agree some of the testimony that was excluded in the second trial should have come in. But I think that it just seems like such a trying to grab votes. And it really seems like it's just, the Menendez brothers are trending right now because of this show. So let's revisit their sentencing. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, the funny thing is people forget that these guys admitted to it. They were proud of it. And, okay, let's say that what they say dad did, he did. So you blow off mom's head? I mean, seriously. To me, they're just a couple of cancer cells in society. And I can't believe they're getting any traction whatsoever. I mean, what was it, Lyle that had the girlfriend that he was talking to about it, and she was tape recording him and wrote a book? I mean, they admit everything. And I mean, they only came up with that defense after they got together with a couple of defense attorneys. Let's try this one, and it's like, oh man, it's disgusting. And it's disgusting that Gascon has picked it up. And like I said, hopefully in about, 3 weeks time, what he's trying to do isn't going to matter anymore, because the next DA will just pull the rug out from under him. I
Yeah,
hope.
that murder was brutal. I mean, it was vicious. And did you guys read? I didn't get to see the story, but the DA's office released the reasoning behind the new looking at the case. Did you guys happen to see that?
Mm-hmm.
What was that about?
I did not. The only headline I saw was that they were looking at new evidence, but I don't know what the new evidence is. I didn't really read further, because to me it's just such grotesque pandering. I mean, it truly is, because a show's trending on Netflix that you're going to revisit a sentencing is crazy to me. I mean, it just should be seen as the shameless stunt that it is.
Two things. One of them was allegedly the 17-year-old, I get it mixed up, Lyle or Eric, one of the two, allegedly wrote a letter kind of intimating maybe that Daddy did something wrong to him. And the other one is an affidavit from one of the Menudo brothers, who said who said that Mr. Menendez was tiddlywinking him or whatever. And those two things they're gonna look at, and it needs to just be okay. Thank you, Menudo band member. That's Zippy. Thanks,
Zippy.
Yeah.
Zippy is Mrs. Captain Mike, Nicole.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Hello, Zippy.
Zippy.
Better than the comment I saw earlier from someone saying I shouldn't have gotten pregnant before marriage. So Menudo band member is a much more welcome comment.
That's TJ.
I mean, if I could have reached through the computer and slapped him, I would have. But
he comes off with some zingers sometimes, I have to tell you. So you said that Gascon was pandering on this Menendez thing. Who's he pandering to? I mean, is he trying to make points? Vote for me and I'll let convicted murderers out of prison, or what?
I think so. I think there's a social justice kind of reform element to this story. I mean, people are interested in this Menendez brothers story since that show came out, depicting some pretty gruesome molestation of them, of what they had alleged. And so I think that the show may have garnered some sympathy from them. And it also, I remember when that case happened, but there's a whole new generation of people who weren't even alive when that case happened. Yeah. And so I think that he's trying to reach out to people who watch the show and say, look at how woke I am. I'm such, I'm going to reform social justice, the way that we prosecute things, and I will make right things that LADA did before. And I that's what I think he's doing. You have celebrities like Kim Kardashian saying that the Menendez brothers should have their sentencing revisited. And it seems like if that's hot on Twitter, he's kind of just going along with it.
To me, social justice means holding people accountable for the acts that they commit. It's not going back 30 years later and trying to find some little technical thing that you can let them wiggle off the hook for. It's the same thing that I see going on with the Harris campaign. I think they're out of step, they're out of tune, they're off base, and any other thing that you can think of like that. I just think that it's not going to resonate with people who live in LA County every day and have to put up with all the crap that's going on as it is. And there's crime everywhere. And what's this DA doing? Let's go look at a 30-year-old case and, see if, it's like his priorities are screwed up. And like I said, I think he's 30 points down in the polls, and he probably ought to be more like 60 down in the polls. But we'll see where it shakes out in a couple of weeks here.
So I got another question for Nicole. Nicole, put your police attorney hat on. So now we have on the other side here Nathan Hochman, is that his name? And we know he's voting. He said he's voting for Harris, which is it's all politics, because LA County. But the other thing that bugged me about something that he put in his platform, which kind of bugged me because I don't know if it was necessary, but he said one of his main things is police accountability. As a police attorney, here we have the guy trying to because Gascon ran on that. So here we have this guy who's probably going to be the DA. How do you translate that? What do you think he's saying when he says police accountability?
I have to say I have mostly supported a lot of the things that Mr. Hochman has talked about. I followed a lot of his campaign and some of the things he's been active in. It does seem like he's going to try to make some strides to lower crime in the city of LA and the county of LA. But when I hear the phrase police accountability, it immediately gets my hackles up, because what does that mean? That means police officers being charged.
Yeah.
That's what it means. And, I think that LASD shooting that I told you about with the bogus video is a perfect example of, if someone has an axe to grind, a political axe to grind, and, it's like that saying, if everything you look at, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So if you have this bias in your mind about police accountability, you're going to end up charging police, whether it's valid or not. I think it just becomes sort of a witch hunt. And I find that language to be troubling. A lot of people say they run on police accountability, but what we've seen, like with Gascon really running on police accountability and having a special prosecutor assigned and re-looking at cases that LADA had previously closed and cleared, what we do see historically is that police cases are incredibly difficult to get a verdict on, even in this current climate, to get a verdict that's in favor of the prosecution. I mean, I don't know if you saw the verdict on the Memphis officers who were charged in the quote unquote beating death of the suspect, but they all were acquitted on the use of force. They got convicted on other things like witness tampering, or I think falsifying a police report was one of them. But the use of force they were actually acquitted on. As controversial as that video was and the actions of the police, ultimately a jury did acquit them of the use of force.
How?
I'm sorry. I was just going to join in with what Nicole said as far as the term police accountability. Let's say I was running for sheriff, I was running for DA. I would say, as part of my platform, I'm going to hold my deputies accountable. Now that's just like straight what it means. If somebody does something wrong, then they have to pay the price for it. It's not like I'm going to seek them out or try to make political hay by doing something like having a press conference every time somebody gets in trouble. So I can't really ascribe that to Hochman because I don't know the guy that well, but there is that opportunity that maybe he's just saying, as it's a checklist for LA County, man. Yep, I'm going to hold my cops accountable. Yep, I'm going to lower crime. Yep, I'm going to do this. But if he follows through in the same vein that Gascon has, I think it's just going to be another losing DA.
Yeah, we almost had him on the show. And then I'm kind of I don't know if I would be happy with him on the show because I'm hoping you guys get Gascon out of office, but I'm worried that Harkin's going to change his stripes once he gets into office, and that's
he should have. You know what? He should have been on the show. That way you could have asked him directly. So
what does that mean?
Yeah. What do you mean by that? Are you going to do a Gascon, or are you just going to do the right thing?
Yeah.
That's the best way, is just to face him head on.
What I will say about the differences between Gascon and Hochman is Hochman actually has been a career prosecutor and a practicing attorney. unlike Gascon, who has a law degree, who's never appeared in court or tried a case or, done anything as an attorney, who heads one of the largest DA's offices in the country. So, that was already suspicious as it was. So I do think that that's probably a big difference fundamentally in their outlooks on things, is that one is a career prosecutor over one who's a career politician.
Yeah, I didn't know Gascon when he was on the job on LEPD, but the thing is, I never heard anything about him. And then he goes to where? Mesa,
San
Arizona.
Francisco. Oh yeah, he went to Arizona and then he went to San Francisco.
Yeah,
Got kicked out of both.
They hate him there.
Yeah.
When go ahead.
I was going to say, it's just like some of these other clowns. Somebody else, I'm not going to name the guy, but they get kicked out of these towns and cities because they're crap. And then a guy comes down here to LA County and gets elected. People didn't do their homework, and we're the ones paying for it now. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and the San Francisco POA, when he came down to LA, they go, good riddance, good luck with that, because they knew. And he became, that whole thing, it cracked me up when I read that he had become the DA, and then somebody comes out and goes, he's never prosecuted a case.
It would be as if you made me chief of police and I'd never made a traffic stop, but I had knowledge of police policy and law, but I've never lived, breathed, and done that job. It is unconscionable that someone who has not been a prosecutor would lead a group of prosecutors and tell them how to do their jobs.
And
he's obviously not doing it right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're getting me wired up here again.
I was going to say that half his office is suing him.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before, and I'm not as old as Mike, but I'm pretty old. But I've never seen that before, where the DA's office just is at war with the boss.
Well, part of that was his edicts that he came down with, saying, you can't charge gang enhancements, or you can't charge hate crimes. And that was something that came back to bite him. There was a hate crime against a transgender woman who was stabbed 16 times, and it was clearly motivated by hate. And Gascon said, no hate crime enhancement for this. And, luckily GLAAD got on the phone and, through their political heft, convinced him otherwise. And his stance changed to, well, we'll address it on a case-by-case basis. And so I think that's got to be really hard for prosecutors, is you have someone telling you not to prosecute crimes. I mean, who has never done your job? And so he immediately got sued by, the Union for LADAs once he got in, because he was also trying to discipline DAs who've wanted to follow the law and not his edict.
Yeah. He's got some problems, and that one DA and Klinkenbrunner, that press conference where he was up there and he said, with the family there, he said, we're not going to pursue the death penalty. And then standing next to him, or opening up the whole press conference, was that assistant of his that had the black T-shirt on, where she disparaged cops about LAPD or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Police
Police
are trying to kill you. That's what it said.
She
Police
hates cops. And so the optics of that, where he has her open the press conference with the family of this dead deputy sheriff, and then at the same press conference, he says, we're not going to pursue the death penalty. This guy's so tone deaf. What an idiot.
Wait a minute. Also standing next to him is my favorite sheriff, Robert Luna, who sat there like, Tweedledum and Tweedledee, didn't say a word. He was obviously clued in beforehand that, Gascon was going to go that route. He just stood there like, and didn't say a word. Man, if that had been me, I'd have grabbed him by the short hairs and thrown him off the stage. Like, how dare you do something like that? The family wasn't even aware of that until he did it during the, what's Zippy saying? Oh yeah.
Zippy's inventory for the squirrel.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the most troubling part of that press conference was when, in front of the family, he said, "We're seeking basically the heaviest penalty under the law." I was like, "No, you're not.
Yep. Yep.
You're not."
And and that POS Lunas just sat there and didn't say a frickin' word. Yep.
That's
Well, you
another-
know,
I do miss when Villanueva was in office there, that he was like at war with Gascon. And I sort of admired that a bit. As opposed to, I think Luna and Gascon are like social friends even.
they're BFFs, yeah.
They're buddies, and Gascon is Luna's mentor. There's a video of them hugging it
Long
out and all
time.
this. Yeah,
Have you noticed too that since I noticed this, at least because I was doing a lot of sheriff's department work at the time, but when Villanueva was in office and at war with Gascon, that's when the 2 LA County sheriff's deputies were charged that I had their cases. And I had an uptick in filings against LASD deputies. And now, I don't know if you've noticed, but those filings have kind of quieted down against LASD, and now he's gone after other agencies like LAPD, Torrance PD, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't like him very much. I don't like him. I don't like Luna. These guys are idiots.
Yeah, well, they both need to go.
Hey, Nicole's got to go. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your wedding. And
Thank you.
Wish the best for your family. But we're going to have you back because we have a lot more stuff we want to talk to you about. So
I think we barely hit the tip of the iceberg. We have a lot to discuss right now.
Yep.
And I love the format of your new show too.
Well, wait a minute.
Thank you
The format is no format.
I know, I like it. You know,
Yeah.
it's free flowing, it's easy. You know, you have bacon stains on your shirt or whatever you were talking about. So
No, you know how when the collar gets ripped up and it's all wiggly, that's called a bacon neck. So I had the bacon neck going on. But now
I was thinking you had like bacon grease on your shirt. That's what I was hoping for.
Oh, yeah, thanks a lot.
But what is it? Look sharp, be sharp.
That's right. Look sharp, be sharp.
And I'm pretty sure you made a bunch of fans tonight, so that's pretty cool. But
Yeah.
You're off to your next appointment. Thank you, Mike. I think we'll hang out here for a minute, Mike, and close out the show.
Yeah, I got a couple
thank you,
things.
and
Thanks for calling.
and we appreciate you, Nicole, for being on the show.
Hey, wait a minute. Go
Thank you.
Matadors. Go Matadors. I
Are
also
you a Matador
graduated.
too, Mike?
Yeah, abso-freaking-lutely. I've
Yeah.
got a tattoo of a Matador on my Oh yeah.
I told my kids that I went to the Harvard of the Valley. So
Harvard of the Valley.
Well, remember when it used to be San Fernando Valley State College?
yes.
Yeah, try saying
A
that
long
3
time
times.
ago. I remember
my
when they
gosh.
had a football team too, which they no longer have. So go
Oh.
Matadors.
Yeah.
I am off to a LAPD-IA that I'm sure will be fair. So
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. And before you go, show your cup that you're drinking out of.
oh yeah, I love this cup.
Look at that, shooting Newton before they outlawed that awesome logo.
Nice.
That's
This is
politically incorrect
this is a
now.
collector's item. I have
Yeah.
a collection of police mugs in my office, everywhere from Oakland PD to LAPD, and so you know. But this is a treasured one because it's
Yeah, that's a
you can't find
classic.
it anymore.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, thank you, Nicole, and off to your next appointment. And we appreciate you for being on here. We'll catch
Yeah.
up to you. How can they get you on Instagram before you go?
Oh, yes. If you want to find me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is Nick, NIC _ Rachel, RACHEL _. And you can find me on there. And you can see things that I post about different podcasts I'm on, updates in the law, different things that are going on with police issues. So, you know, and funny things that I find in pictures of my kids.
I
Cool.
like it. All right, we'll chat with you later. I'll see you on Instagram.
All right. Thank you both.
Come
Okay,
back.
bye.
Bye.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was really lively. I think she'll, have her on in a few months to talk about some updates on things. Hey,
Yes.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. What?
I was gonna say, I'll bet you she's got a bunch of secret squirrel information on police, just like police litigations and all that stuff. like the paper writing about that.
I'm sure. You know, I thought she was going to be one of the law firms where I've known a couple of guys at this law firm for like 40 years. And but they used to have Green and Cheney, and I think what happened was Cheney retired and Green retired, and now that there's different firms in LA County that deal with the sheriff's department that didn't used to. But I saw Dale on here a couple of times, and we asked him last week. Oh, there he is. About how people can get hold of him if they want an autographed copy of his book. He said they can either DM him on Facebook as Dale Hedges, or they can email him at hedgesdale@yahoo.com. hedgesdale@yahoo.com.
hedgesdale@yahoo.com. Look at
Yes.
people love Nicole. People love Nicole. Yeah, I was thinking that before we had her on the show, I was thinking it would drive me nuts to see some of these filings from DA's offices, especially LA County. And you're an attorney that represented cops, and some of the stuff you just like that one that the deputy shooting where they were hanging their hat on this video that was all pixelated and it was wrong. But had they not done their job like good attorneys do, this guy could be in prison because the DA had faulty evidence.
Well, even if not prison, fired, right? I mean, yeah, he's very lucky. And I remember that case coming through the system, and I remembered at the time it was like, I think the guy ran over his foot, and they were saying he didn't get his foot run over. It's like, why does he have 3 smashed toes? You know, but they didn't care. They were, and it actually kind of surprised me that it was Jackie Lacey. But you know what? If that was near the end of her tenure, she might have been panicking and looking to file on a deputy. So who knows? You know, it's at that position, it's all politics anyway.
What do you guys think? You think Gascon's 30 points under? Or you think it's going to be Hochman? What do you guys think?
You're talking about just me and the royal we. I think that he's so far down in the polls. I got my fingers crossed. But, you know, here's the thing. LA County has a lot of Democrats in it. And, you know, if they decided that they were all going to get together and support him, he'd have a chance. But, you know, there's crickets chirping over there. So I think they're probably leaving him alone because they see the damage that he's causing. And I don't remember what Hochman did. I think he became a Republican to run for Attorney General, and then he became independent, I think, to run for DA. It's all politics. But
it is.
You know, I have a better feeling about him than I'll ever have about Gascon. Gascon needs to pack up his shit and get out of town. Even when I see his face, man, he looks like a deranged Muppet, and he just. The dude needs to go, man. And just pack your shit, take all your liberal bullshit friends with you. Like that one he just hired that's not even an attorney. I think. What's her name?
Oh, yeah, the one that you said last week. The young lady he hired.
The one that I flipped her off and she almost caught me. But, man, that was close. I sweated bullets. I was like, okay.
But even if Prop 36 passes, we get a new DA, they will do something else to stonewall criminal justice.
Well, that's how the state's going right now, right? So
yeah, look at who's here. Kevin Kazan's here. So I wouldn't count.
He's right. He's right about that LA County election process. You know, the San Fernando Democratic Party, they're big, they're powerful, but I don't hear them making a move for him. So I'm hoping they're just going to let that chicken go to roost and see what happens.
Let him die a slow, painful death.
Painful death. Let him sit there at night going, oh, honey, come on. Your Silmar's going to come in pretty quick with some more votes for us. Just hold on. But
no, I haven't got my ballot yet, which is really dumb because why? Why haven't I got it yet?
Hey, you're right, Dale. You're right, Dale. Let's get her a mug with her name on it.
An FPK. Well, it's got to be better than the Shootin' Newton one that they had. I'm serious.
No, I love that Shootin' Newton one.
That logo is pretty old, and then we get the Thin Blue Line, the newspaper from LAPD. They put it out every month. I mean, the union, what do you call it? The league does. But anyways, the thin blue line comes out, and then all of a sudden they changed the logo for Newton, and I'm like, what happened to the old logo? And then these logos started popping up that didn't have the skull on there, and somebody said the city or the department decided it was politically incorrect to use that logo, Shootin' Newton, and they stopped using that logo.
Well, what else rhymes with Newton, man? Highfalutin Newton? I mean, it's got to be something. I remember it was Shootin' Newton way back, man, before I went on the sheriff's department, probably 75, 76. Shootin' Newton.
Shootin' Newton, that's right. A DA at Pomona in 2010 told me Kamala would win AG in 2010. She did. Lots of stuff happening in the shadows. All politics is all shadows, man.
Well, yeah, but, it depends on who she was screwing at the time.
Willie Brown.
Yeah. Oh, no. Let's see if we can get Kamala on this show. I think she'd do it.
She's making the rounds, man.
She's making the rounds. She was on that one, Call Me Mama, or Who's Your Daddy, or whatever it was. Yeah. Hey, come on, 1019 The Watch Commander.
Yeah, because we're not as crude as Call Your Daddy or whatever they say your daddy. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, Spank Your Daddy.
Yeah, Spank Your Daddy. So tomorrow night, you guys, I don't know if I'll be able to watch it because I don't have Fox News, but Harris is going to be on with Brett Baer and Fox.
Well, Dodgers are on tomorrow night too, buddy. So it just depends on the timing.
I'm watching it if I can. I don't have, like I said, I don't have Fox. I don't know if I'll be able to get it or not, but he won't let her off. He's not rude. He's a nice guy, but he's not going to let her off the hook. And I think it's pretty ballsy stupid of her to go on Fox News, but hey, what the heck? She's just going to stonewall him.
Well, you know what she's going to do? He said, why don't you tell us about your plan for fixing the border? I was born a poor black child. I was in Canada, and I remember watering the lawn, and it's like, get out of here. She's got canned answers, and they don't go really well with the questions. She blows off the questions, and she says stupid shit, and I think she's gonna take that all the way to the loser line there at the end of the day. So.
What do you guys think about that double edit from 60 Minutes?
What I think is more egregious is the fact that there's crickets chirping over there, and they will not release any of the original stuff. So that that means they're dirty, just like anything else.
Yeah, they're not defending it; they're just not talking about it because they got them dead to rights. You have two videos on the same question.
Well,
what are they going to do?
They probably fired one of their kids there because the one that shows her going around in circles, and the other one's like, I'm definitive, this is what I'm going to do. It's like, well, how did you answer it twice?
Yeah. Well, it could be pre-taped, but I just don't think they're going to pull the shenanigans that CBS got caught again. Oh, I know who it was. The majority leader in Congress, I can't remember his name, Johnson. CBS edited a video that he was on, I think yesterday, and then he posted, somebody in his crew was posting the monitor where the actual interview, and they had edited it, so it made his answer look different. So CBS is still at it. Jerks.
Yeah. So. Shame.
Yeah.
Well,
do you guys? What?
I got nothing. Go ahead.
Do you guys have anything for Mike? Any questions for Mike while we have him here on the show? Anything for Mike?
Anybody have any answers for Ken while we have him on the show? Any answers for Ken?
Any answers for me?
Hey. But you know what? Go to my my YouTube page. Quit giving this guy all the credit and subscribing to him. Go to mine. Damn it.
They could subscribe to both of them.
They get tired. They don't want to do both.
We want I think Mike, he should have his own show as well, and so you could get more stuff on your channel and get more followers because what Mike says.
What I got to tell you, I just enjoy doing it. I don't really care too much about.
Squirrel.
Oh, now Dave starts doing a lot of blah blah there. It's a little late in the game, Dave. But hey, subscribe, folks. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Just subscribe, like,
Yeah,
do all
go
that stuff.
ahead. What was I going to do? Oh, I was looking for this one here. Let's get that out. I have not seen that. I have not seen that.
Me
So,
neither.
yeah. But hey, before I forget, if you guys want to be on the show, because you guys are cops or retired cops, come on the show, man. Let us know. Get a hold of myself or Mike, and tell us you want to be on the show, and we'll sit there and pull up a bar stool at the shortstop with you.
Right.
And,
If you want to be on the show, bro, let us know.
That's right. Show,
Gotta go.
bro. Mike, you hip. You gangsta.
Yeah, I get down.
That's right. So I think that's interesting question. Here, Mike,
Here.
this is a question for you. Here, right here.
She's doing good. I have conversations with her. She's kind of busy doing stuff right now, but she's all right. She's hanging in.
She with her man.
Out.
She with her man.
She with her man. Yeah, apparently he likes Vegas, so I'm anticipating running into him over here one of these days. But that could be cool too.
Yeah, you're in one of your many mega mansions.
This is a secret location, and this is Henderson, Nevada.
Shh.
Yeah. Oh,
Don't say anything.
I just gave it away.
Hey, Dave Alsace, I just want to thank you for behaving tonight. Dave was on his best manners tonight, and
he did good.
Cool. You did good. You did good, Dave.
Oh yeah, but let's say goodbye and then hold on because I want to talk to you after the show anyway.
We're going to take off here, guys, and then Mike's going to talk with me after. Okay, so thank you guys. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on.
Oh, I know what Dale's talking about. I wouldn't let that cat out of that bag just yet, brother, man. Let's see what happens.
He's going to tease us like that, and then, oh, man.
Absolutely.
You guys have to, oh, wait a minute. Here we go. What is this? It might have been talked about previously. I was MIA for the last couple of weeks. Any thoughts on McDonald becoming, we did talk about this last week, and all the LASD guys are for it. They love McDonald. And that's not true. But what we talked about, Elliot, was that the LASD, they have their opinion about it, and then LAPD has their opinion about it, and apparently LAPD guys love McDonald and LASD guys don't, and that was...
Well, he's cut from the same cloth as him, and like I said, I think he was a fish out of water with the sheriff's department. I think he worried about the wrong shit, colors of stuff, when the ship was sinking, but he is an LAPD dude through and through, and I think they're going to welcome him like Augustus Caesar coming back from somewhere and conquering somebody. I predict he'll do fine. He'll do fine. That's his thing, man. That's what he does.
Yeah, and here's what I hear from most of the LAPD guys. That's what they're saying. That's what we're hearing. So I don't know. I never worked with a guy. GJ's trying to make you a Democrat.
Well, you know what? I say, if you're going to vote, vote often. But but as George Bush said, only vote once.
Vote once.
Yeah, if you're going to vote, vote for me. But if you don't, just vote once.
But if you do, but the thing is, if you're a Democrat, you can vote eternally after you're gone. You can still vote.
Even after you're gone, you'll be voting for decades.
So, yeah, there you go. Steven says, very happy with Jim McDonald selection. Welcome home, Gentleman Jim. All right, guys, thanks so much for being here, hanging in there with us, and we appreciate you. And I'm pretty sure we'll be back next week. But if we're not back next week, it's because we're not back, but we'll be back the week.
Wait a minute. What's next week? Is that 21st?
I don't even know the
20th. Yeah, no, you know what? That's the night I'm gone. I'm not available.
Mike is going to be doing some, I don't know if cat out of the bag, some CIA Black Ops thing. So
why does it have to be Black Ops?
White Ops.
Doing I'm doing some French vanilla ops.
So, but all right, guys, we will talk with you later.
Absolutely. Bye. Thanks.
Wait, I forget.
What?
I got to make sure I got the right one. Okay. Okay, bye.